they've the dollar is doing it by itself, right?
I know.
Like, oh, here comes Chester. Yeah, I don't think we need a conspiracy theory. It's very obvious that we're just doing it to ourselves.
Well, unfortunately, in when was it? January, when I went to Costa Rica, it was over 500 colones to the dollar. It's now down to almost 450.
Well,
So it's dropped 10%.
last week it seems like the bottom fell out of the market. I actually still have a little money there and didn't want to look. I haven't looked. I haven't looked all week. I don't want to know what's going on right now. Hey, Chester, welcome. I've just hit the go button, so we're on YouTube right now. This is the San Carlos Computer Club, and we're kind of staggering in here late. I'm Scott Stimson from International Computer Solutions, and we meet every Tuesday at 10 Arizona Sonoran time. All of us at the moment are not in San Carlos, but we have San Carlos is a touchstone to all of us in some facet of our lives. We also are computer enthusiasts. We show up here to check in with each other and share stories of technology failures and triumphs, and a little bit of news, what's happening out there, and just help to educate ourselves and stuff that this world needs you to know. Welcome, guys. I hope others will join us, but it's good to have both you, Chester, and Fred with us. And of course, I'm here too. I prepared a document. I'll actually stick it on screen here. This is the document of possible topics. I send it out right before one of our meetings, and I typically have a couple of topics, just general discussion topics, some news that I think's interesting. This is kind of pulled from some topics we didn't get to last week, and some AI stuff that we've left there because I have found it relevant that you guys probably look at your leisure. Richard has been keeping us informed with Ed Zetron's inshitification. Actually coined the phrase from Corey Doctrine. But these are long, extended articles about the business cycle and this inshitification cycle that Corey Doctrine has written so much about. And it talks very, very specifically about AIs and that financial mess that we're in right now. And then we also have recommendations in here of websites and movies and stuff. Some of this stuff is left in here, document after document, because I think that there's some stuff there that's like evergreen, and then there's some stuff that each week is interesting and doesn't need to be. I will update with new stuff each. So that's what I've got going here. I've got some news articles from last week, a couple of new things, and at this point, oh, there's Dad.
What are they saying? What are they telling?
And at this point, good morning. I would be asking you guys, do you have any topics or things going on that you want to discuss? Any problems you're trying to solve? Any news you'd like to share? Because I find that more interesting than anything I've brought. Fred, Chester, Dad.
I was reading that article you had on Mexican cars.
Oh yeah, well the article or the YouTube. I put a link. This is one of the first things here is I put a link to the presentation of the new Mexican electric car.
Finalmente se ha presentado el nuevo auto. Hoy, en una conferencia especial de Sheinbaum, presentó por fin el nuevo auto o línea.
As small as it was, relatively easy.
I'm trying to bring it up as quickly as possible, just as a visual. Did you catch at the beginning of this that the president drove it in?
No.
Sorry, I guess I'm inadvertently doing more YouTube advertising because I want to show. presentation.
Well, I thought it was I got to the point, and what they say, 190,000 pesos.
190,000 pesos for this particular car. So yeah, that's like $6,000, more or less.
That's how much?
100 or $8,000. Is that right? $9,000? $9,000. 190 peso, 90,000 peso. How much did you say the price? I'm under the impression it's 90,000 to 140,000 peso.
Could be. I got to the point where they said what the price was. I thought it was 190.
Well, still, that's like, I mean, that's like $9,900, right?
I don't know. I thought let's see, 19. 1, 2, 3. I couldn't make it. That didn't sound right.
That's still a lot of car for $10,000.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you could do, Chester. You could just round it to $10,000.
Yeah.
And the big selling feature of this car that they're showing off is its sheer cargo capacity and the fact that you can plug it in like an appliance.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you don't have to have a big.
That was the president right there. If you're looking at my display, the president drove this car in. I think towards the end, they show off 3 different versions of this. From what I've been following, I think there we go. I think this is one car. This is one car that they had planned. And so maybe it's 190,000 pesos. But what they're showing us is the 3 different ways that you could buy this car.
Very pretty.
No, thanks.
But from following this, they also have a car that is half the price that is supposed to be a sedan style car. And they didn't show that off.
I wouldn't take it on Highway 15, but I think it would be great for running around town.
Yeah. Well, they also announced, if you were concerned about range, they also announced 1,000 quick charging points across the state of Mexico. So down in the south.
Well, they said something about at the moment it was only in 2 towns in Mexico.
Yeah.
And
well, it was in the state of.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But if you can plug it into 110, then you don't need a charging station.
That's what impressed me was you could stick it in 110 and be anywhere. Now, the thing I didn't understand, they said something about the speed limit was 25 miles an hour max. I didn't think it was right either, but that's what I thought they said. My Spanish is cerveza and baño. Okay. And they also said something about, I think they said something about 200-mile range at 20. Okay. Then I'm, don't know. It was, it was interesting though. Yeah. And it looks smaller, so easier to park. Yeah, 6 people. Yeah.
You lost my interest at 25 miles an hour.
Basically, it's a golf cart with a roof. Yeah. Yeah. Just see the, did you see the,
Now, where, where that fix my problem? Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. Not the microphone. This is the microphone right here. Okay. Sorry about that, guys, but I am still here. Fred, it sounds
Well, we can hear you and you can hear us.
sounds very tranquil where you are. Here comes Mom. Good
Morning, everyone.
Well, we were just looking at the electric car that the presentation that Mexico has given for the electric car. It's supposed to be available in the first quarter of 2027. This is a low range, low speed, high capacity electric car that can be plugged in to your house. Fred, I'm gonna mute you a bit because you're coming across real. The birds are really loud over there.
This is bigger than I thought it would be.
Yeah, we were just discussing the capacity. It can carry 6 people.
Wow.
But it's not highway speeds. It's not rated for the highway. It's got like a top speed of 25, 30 miles an hour. So they're really angling it towards inner city traffic. I would imagine the idea would be this would, in fact, what the AI summary said when we were looking at it said last mile, which would mean you'd expect some kind of public transportation. And then maybe this is something that you would use for getting from that infrastructure to your final destination.
Or taking your neighborhood to church.
Yeah, well, they've got 3 different designs too that we were looking at. And this is not the car that I've been following. The car I've been following is a sedan for the same people. So this really looks like a different thing entirely from what they've been saying. But the fact that you could plug it into a regular outlet like like an appliance to charge it, and they're starting to develop charging stations all over those densely populated areas. It looks like a good step forward. The car is also selling between 7,500 to 9,000 pesos or dollars. So that's a pretty impressive idea that you'd have a 6-person transport that goes 30 miles an hour for $7,000. Anyway.
So could you drive, Scott, could you drive it from San Carlos into Guaymas?
Well, technically you probably could because that's not considered highway, but it's not considered a highway vehicle. Yeah.
So you take the back road.
Well, you could take the main street because that area long ago was given to Guaymas as municipal roads, mostly so that they didn't have to take care of them. Guaymas had to take care of them. And they have a slow speed as you go into Guaymas. The speeds down because there's a number of schools and the maquilas right there. So they start slowing down traffic right at the turnoff of San Carlos. So technically that's not highway. You could use a vehicle like this to go between San Carlos and Well, besides that, and if nobody's brought any topics with them, I've brought a few things. Like, has anybody been paying attention to the Apple announcement yesterday? One of the things that they announced was that they are going to release iOS 27 across all their devices. And I've gotten some conflicting information about how many are dropping there are articles out there that are saying, oh, they're dropping support for all these products. It's just interesting, the slant. The one I've brought with me is the one that's talking about how they're not dropping support for a whole slew of products. I was surprised to find that my iPhone 11 will be supported with their next iteration of operating system. I thought 26 would be the last one. For point of reference, we're at iPhone 17 and they iterate the iPhone every year. So my phone is 6 years old and they're still making software for it. That's interesting. But there's also a slew of iPads that are still going to run it. What I've heard is that iOS 27 will not be available on Intel based Macintoshes. So Fred, I don't know what you're running, but any of those older MacBook Pros are not going to run version 27. Version 27, and from this point forward, with a lot of these operating, Windows is trying to do the same thing. They really seem to be these receptacles for AI technology. And I don't foresee there being much change in the operating system itself, other than accounting for new hardware that will be iterating, these new chips that are much more capable, so that you could be running AI locally, which is what looks like is the goal. If any of you had a chance to look at the NVIDIA announcement from last week, they were talking about chips with speeds and memory of 128 gigabytes all on the same board in a laptop, so that you could have enough processing power to run a local AI in your laptop. The value of that right now versus data centers is difficult to say, whether that's really a realistic work scenario. I've heard a lot of criticism from over the last week of their presentation, just kind of, well, just to paraphrase, a solution looking for a problem is how I would look at the way a lot of people are reviewing the NVIDIA presentation. That they have just, their business is selling hardware, very advanced, capable hardware, and they're just, this is their latest thing. This is what they're able to put together. They've got a ridiculous graphics chip, their highest capable graphics chipset, which gamers would die for. To get this video capability in their hands to plug in as a card to their computer. NVIDIA has put that on a chip with their own CPU. So this is significant as well. This is also from the presentation last week. That is an ARM-based processor. It's really the first time we've seen an emphasis on this discrete video being added to a RISC-based processor. And remember, the ARM-based processors, those are synonymous, both those terms. They are typically what you put into tablets and telephones, cell phones. It's mobile technology traditionally. And Apple flipped that script by developing their own M1 processors. Now we're on the M5. So that happened in 2020. We were introduced to mainstream computers with ARM processors. The PC industry had to follow suit because they did not have the performative capabilities that Apple was showing off at the same price points. Intel has struggled behind Apple to provide the same type of package. And now Apple has released a MacBook, a Neo, that is $600 and tends to top the user experience in all the other PC form factors. Now, to answer that, we've seen some Qualcomm chips come out, Snapdragon X second generation coming out, but these things have not had the graphic capabilities the PCs are known for when you get to gamers and CAD and virtual reality. And you were not able to, if you had adopted an ARM, a RISC-based hardware framework up until this moment, there wasn't a way for you to add your discrete video, which a lot of these professionals and gamers would. They would have these external graphic processors, EGVA. In the past, we would have a separate component tower that they could plug their laptop into, and that tower would just run the video card because it required so much processing. This capability in such a small form factor being announced last week is only made possible because of the interest in AI right now. They didn't build this for gamers to play on their laptop without having a separate chassis. They've really done this because that's where all the performative computing is happening, is ARM-based, high memory, graphic processor or graphic style processors is where this AI computation is happening, and they are the experts in it. They've been doing it for years for gamers, and it's almost by accident it was discovered this was going to work well for AI development, language models. And so this is coming out and changing. It's kind of a pivot in the way hardware is going to be working. And it really is a significant change. I think my train of thought is just really derailed, or I have emptied my bucket of information on that. What can we take from the article I brought? Is that wow, that's funny. I've gotten so far away from the article I brought that it's not even relevant anymore to the article. The article is relevant, though, because all these old iOS devices are getting the latest updates, and that was the point. That was how I was going to link it together, was that the iterations of operating systems that we're seeing now, Apple now becoming the most notorious for this. Every year there is a new version of their operating system. The changes are going to be relatively simple changes, because what is the most important thing right now is the capacity to take advantage of the new style of hardware, just like I was referring to with NVIDIA's announcement last week. The software needs to be able to take advantage of this new hardware that's getting incorporated in new devices. And really, when they iterate the operating system, that's going to be what they're going to be doing. Is they're changing the way they address that new hardware, trying to make it more performative while maintaining good battery and giving more features to the users. Those of us that are on older hardware are going to get little bells and whistles and security improvements, but not much more than that as we go forward. So it wouldn't be surprising to me if they just continue being compatible, but they strip away features, even features we might have had before, because they've made the feature so complex that it requires the new hardware, which you have not bought yet. And so as you upgrade, you may just see things just disappear that you used to be able to use, because they've classified them in that scope of you need this more sophisticated hardware now. They've moved that feature from basic to advanced. You're still on basic. You don't get to use that feature longer. I think that's a more likely scenario as we go forward. Little 1,000 cuts driving you into buying a new piece of equipment. Well, if there isn't discussion, questions, or other topics, I would go on to another. I brought this last week, and considering Apple was just announcing its choice to continue to update the operating system for older equipment, I thought this was even more relevant. Sorry, there is an ad in front of us. There's 2 ads in front of us. Oh, I'm not going to upgrade. Not going to get that ad. But this is an article talking about your Amazon Fire Stick and how it's going out of date. And this is another article just reiterating stuff that we've talked about in the past. They're talking about how Amazon has embraced a new operating system. They've built this operating system called Vega OS. Vega, if you buy a Fire Stick now, you'll get it with the Vega OS. In fact, if you were intentionally trying to buy an older generation, you have to go out of your way to do that and probably pay extra for it. And the big difference for our perspective is that Vega does not have all the side loading capability that the previous Android-based systems did, making a distinction between Vega and Android. Vega is actually a fork of Android that has many features pulled out of it. The features allow you to do things like connect with a cable and put software into it, or just turn on developer mode and install from any source that you would like, any App Store, with the exclusion of the Google App Store. I still never figured that out, why that's not a possibility. But there's multiple app stores out there, as well as developers with their own websites that are creating Android applications. And this has been one of the real advantages of the Fire TV offering, was that it was so close to Android that you could take advantage of turning off the safeties and side load in whatever software you would like. This is as close to an Android, as close to a Windows experience as the Android operating system could get. This idea that you could just install software from anywhere. You bought it off a shelf, you had it on a disk, you have it on a USB drive, downloaded it from the internet. This is a different experience than your iPhone, where you have to get it all out of the App Store. In Amazon, you get it out of the Amazon App Store, but very easily and quickly with simple instructions. Turn that off and you get software put in it from any source. You cannot do that with Amazon's Vega operating system, intentionally locked down. Amazon is also, we've talked about quite a bit, taken a new stance. Before they had a what we don't see, we don't care about stance towards using pirated software, what they would deem as pirated or questionable software. I would argue that is too specific a terminology, because side loading is really what they're turning off. They're turning off your ability to control your device. They are telling you how to use your device. That's the big change in Amazon's ecosystem, both technically and politically. They are telling you what you're allowed to put into it. And that's why we're going to be moving away from these devices. Now, with that said, one of the nice things in this article is that they are verifying. Amazon is saying that their old devices will be supported for the next 4 years. Or, well, actually the next 3.5 years, I guess. December 2030 is when Amazon is going to stop supporting the most recent Android devices that are not Vega devices. So if you bought, I think they're 6th generation devices, running the traditional Android operating system, the fork that Amazon has created, then they will continue to be supported with security updates, and you be able to use Amazon software and other software such as Netflix, Hulu, and things of that nature until 2030. So that's good. That was kind of up in the air before. That means that the devices you're using now for TV in foreign countries with VPNs, your Kodi and Streamio installations, we should expect all that to continue to work until 2030 outside of a hardware problem. If the hardware dies, if it burns up, it gets zapped by electricity, it gets bricked by software, that warranty is up, with standard electronics warranties. 90 days, 1 year, manufacturer. And you're probably way out of that warranty. So, and then the problem is that product is no longer available. If you were to replace those softwares or need to replace those softwares that are not available in the App Store and need to be side-loaded, then at that point you're looking for a new product. That's what we can emphasize about this switch. Amazon is not making it easy. They used to have an ostrich's head in the sand approach to what you did with their equipment. They're now taking an active role in being aware of what you've got on your equipment. To be fair, they've always been aware of what you've got on your equipment. Windows is aware. Macintosh is aware. They all know what softwares you're running on your device. They just didn't care. They didn't. That telemetry even being reported back to them, it wasn't their job to police what you were. Now they're playing an active role in what you're doing with your device, and they're saying you can't do that. So being an unfriendly ecosystem for these softwares, side loading in general is not something that should be shouldn't be an issue. This is the freedom to do whatever you want with something that you've bought. They're taking that away from the devices they sell. So why would you buy one of those devices? I have been recommending the ON devices from Walmart. Walmart has taken the same stance as Amazon for years. They've got a very decent streaming device. And if you find yourself without your Fire Stick and needing to run those same softwares, they're very easily available to be installed on an ON device, a streaming device. The ON situation with streaming is a little up in the air right now because they're just upgrading their streaming devices. They haven't had a formal announcement of pulling their previous devices out of circulation. They still have some previous devices in circulation, and they have new devices that are slowly getting rolled out, and they've done no announcements. So at any given Walmart, at any given moment, you may be getting into a very performative device or a lackluster device, depending on what their inventory is on the shelf. And I myself just recently found that complicated and had to relearn all that. So I would say if you're looking at an ON streaming device, I would want to take a picture of it, send a Google Lens search, make sure you're looking at the right one. Right now, the name brand of the ON device would be a 4K Plus or a 4K Pro. No, I'm sorry. 4K Plus is the only one I feel comfortable with. The other name brands and model numbers, I need to reassess because of my experience buying one that was not what I was expecting. It's the video processor that is making the difference. there are a number of these streaming devices out there that have a Cortex processor, an A35 and an A55. I'm not going to go into the weeds about this, but the bigger number is better in that respect. But then they also have a video processor, a Mali, M-A-L-I. And again, the bigger number is the better one, but it's very difficult to assert which Mali was etched into which chip, because they're all on the same chip. They're called a system on a chip, an SoC. And so you've got the processor that runs things and the video processor that processes your video, built on the same piece of silicon, and that it's the basis for the device that you own. And that Mali, that's the name brand of the video processor, could be one of 2 different or 3 different video processors, and it's difficult to assert which processor is with which graphics processor is with which CPU processor in these on devices. It's as they roll out more of the next generation is what you want. From the previous generation, the only one you want is the 4K plus. If you can't find the 4K plus, that's where the confusion begins. It's either the previous devices, which aren't as performative, or it's the new lineup, which has the same naming convention as the previous devices. So as they roll out more, it'll become more clear what's available. Again, if you're not having a problem with your Fire Stick, they're going to be supported until 2030. So this is a moot conversation until then. Regardless, there's good information about what's going on with Amazon's Fire Stick in this article in our document. We have a couple other things going on as far as security risks. Probably this first one has the potential of affecting all of us because so many of us are using WhatsApp. But it also has, I think the biggest potential this has for affecting us is what's being implied, or what Meta is inferring is happening within NSO. And I felt like this was a good discussion topic for us. I know this says we've only got 15 left in. I thought this was a good discussion topic for us because so much of what they're talking about is relevant to each and every one of us, and it's not clear what this is trying to tell us. Many of you probably are not paying attention that Meta is Facebook, probably, and WhatsApp and Instagram. Maybe you know that from Computer Club and discussions of like, but you probably really don't know that NSO is a spyware company that is legitimized. It's an Israeli company that does work with governments across the world. They're not an Israeli government company. They're an Israeli for-profit company that has made their name by creating software that allows phones and mobile devices to be compromised throughout the world. Their legitimacy is given by the jurisdiction of where it might be used. So to that end, there are countries where it is illegal to use NSO software. We don't necessarily live in that country. And their software has been used to break into people's phones. It's famously used for there's so many shootings that I can't come up with the correct details. It was a California shooting. Apple went to court over it, saying that they would not give the keys. They would not help the FBI get into the iPhone of the suspect. They actually, after that case, because they were not being given a warrant to give up the information. They'd actually given up everything. It's a nuanced issue, but it came up in the news. It changed the way policies worked. It actually changed the way Apple software works, because after that experience, Apple changed their software so that they couldn't give any of that information. It didn't matter whether law enforcement had what was considered a legitimate warrant. These were the warrants they were given were those unclassified, non-disclosure warrants that the government was thinking they could secretly give to these companies, and the companies had to comply. Apple was fighting that. If they had come to them with a legitimate warrant, a search warrant with evidence and a judge backing it in what was considered a legal form, and I'm sorry, I'm not a lawyer, so I really don't know what I'm talking about, but Apple would have given up the information, and to that end, Apple had already given up quite a bit of information about that phone, what it had available to them online under what they considered was the appropriate disclosure. Apple has never been one to fight for an individual. They fight for policies. They fight for structure. They don't fight for one specific case. And so in this case, this was famous because after this whole incident, Apple encrypted everything, so that regardless of whether they were brought legal authorization to give up the info, they couldn't. They can't see it. You can't see it. Nobody can. They made their product much more secure by default. And what this is another situation where this spying was allowed. NSO was allowed to spy on their target, and later was hit with an injunction and told to stop from Meta because they were spying on WhatsApp. This is a very complicated thing to think about, but since NSO is considered a legitimate service provider, Meta came at them for them doing abusive behavior on WhatsApp, basically trying to trick their WhatsApp users into unlocking their encryption and their phones. If NSO was an illegitimate group, like a hacker group, black hackers with spyware trying to compromise these people, there would not be any kind of legal mechanism to come after them other than they're breaking the law. But in this case, they were able to get an injunction against NSO, which is amazing because it means they have to stop targeting WhatsApp, or they could be legally held liable for their actions. And that's exactly what Meta is alleging now, is that this company has not stopped in their goal to get into devices of journalists and politicians and statesmen and corporate leaders. That is their goal. That is this company's legitimate use for this software that people hire from them. And it's the hiring and the jurisdiction that dictates whether it's legal or not. Meta is saying Meta has an injunction against them using it against their software. They have a legal standing saying they cannot try and do that to WhatsApp, regardless of what they're looking for, who they're looking for. They have this injunction, and that they're violating it now. that this company has not stopped attacking their WhatsApp users. So in a way, Meta is standing up for the privacies and security of the WhatsApp users. I think that's kind of an accident. I think what they're really doing is setting a precedence, a legal precedence, which I don't mind, that if you think you can make a legitimate business out of hacking devices, then we can take each case and try and block you just from a corporate perspective, because we recognize you, the actions you're doing are recognized as illegal. We can block you legally from doing these things, and you'll end up having to pay fees and fines and not be able to operate. I don't mind that at all. I think there's another there's a side thing that bothers me about this just a little bit, and that is losing the confidence in the encryption that is fundamental to the WhatsApp messenger and the Signal messenger. Remember, they're based on the same foundational framework. They have the same encryption that's available to them. It's only the implementation of the encryption that becomes the problem. It's not the math is sound. If you want to keep your messages secure, your privacy secure, the math is good. Well, until we get into quantum computers, but that's a different topic. Right now, with what the security is good. The thing that fails is the implementation. The way that the encryption is turned on, how it's received, how you implement these messaging and exchange systems is where it always breaks down. It's not the math. And what this bothers me, the side thing that I'm getting at, is that I wouldn't want us to rely on Meta to keep us safe. I would want us to rely on the encryption to keep us safe. I know that's a nuanced distinction because Meta is the one that is implementing the encryption. But I would want us to always find the math to be what's sound, and move what we're doing to the product that's doing it best. Meta has conflicting interests in your privacy and security because the framework of the internet is ad-based. All revenue is ad-based, and the only way that they can serve ads or make money off of the telemetrics that in the end generate ads is by being aware of your activities, your conversations, your locations, when you have those interactions and where you have them. Those telemetrics are gold. The information is the money that's being exchanged in the world right now. And so WhatsApp has a foundation that is very solid and secure. Meta bought it for a play for those users because there were millions of people across the world having private, secure conversations. And since that moment, they have introduced pieces into the software to try and encourage you to give them that information that is so secure in WhatsApp. They've put an AI in your WhatsApp messenger. They've put a super search bar. If people aren't thinking about it, every time you touch that stuff, it's got to go out to the cloud to be processed, to be relevant. And that's when they're capturing information about your WhatsApp activities. So instead, not wanting to get it deep into the way all of that's going down, it's the motivations behind Meta that I would always want to question, because in this case, they're not protecting us from this group. They're exerting their corporate power against another corporation. That's what they're doing. The moment that they could make money off of a deal between WhatsApp and NSO so that that information flows freely, they would do it. They have no incentives to keep your information private. I just explained that. And so what we're looking at here is really one corporate power exerting its power against another corporate entity out there. This is not Meta protecting us. This is Meta protecting their own best interest. And that's why it's an interesting article. Well, you know, sometimes I feel like I'm just ranting to myself. Does anybody have any topics besides what I've brought with me? There any questions about things that we've been talking about so far?
Unfortunately, I don't. I'm sorry.
Well, that's all right, Chester. I'm happy that you're with us. I have got more. I'm going to go on to another security issue, which probably doesn't affect as many of us, but more than you probably think. Many of you may have needed to use an archive extracting program in the past. Some of the most famous throughout the years have been things like WinZip or PKZip. 7-Zip is probably the most recent, well-known open source extraction utility. I use it everywhere. I use it in every Windows computer that I have, and my Linux computers use a version of this this archiver. Oh, look at that. We're about to get disconnected. I'm going to open up our next meeting. You guys can funnel into it as the other one is dying. Oh, look at this. And Richard's already in here waiting for us. He's showed up for the second half of this.
Buenos dias.
Buenos dias. I'm afraid no one else is hearing you right now because they're dumping from the last meeting into this one.
Very, very.
I am the only one that gets to hear that interaction between the two meetings as we switch over.
Well, that and half a dozen other people, but we don't need to talk about that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, those on YouTube get to hear it as well. You're right.
They're permanently logged in.
No, unfortunately, if you're doing the meet thing and you're not on YouTube, you're not. Between the two meetings, they don't get to hear.
You don't think the NSA?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
I'm talking about guys. Guys with real jobs.
Yeah, right. How we got here? Okay. Oh, Fred's with us too. Okay, I think we got everybody. I think we got everybody.
Richard just said hello to you, Sandy.
Who is?
Richard.
Hello, Richard.
You look lovely, dear. What a beautiful
Thanks.
room. Look at that room. My goodness.
Yeah, we have a nice room.
Mm-hmm.
We're lucky.
Well, we have been going through articles. Richard has joined us in the second half of this meeting. We were just looking at this article about 7-Zip. I don't know if you're aware of it, Rich, but they found a security in 7-Zip, which is, let me just start out by, if you are using 7-Zip, all you have to do is update it. The latest version has fixed this. If you're aware of 7-Zip, you'll realize it doesn't get updated very often because it's an awesome program. It is always very solid and works very well. So there is a new update to it. It's very easy to install and you won't have this security risk. But what this really, I find interesting is a archive program that is so available everywhere, and the idea that you could be compromising anything you might be opening. This doesn't get too deeply into this idea, but as I read it, I started thinking of the idea of a sophisticated kind of compromise that might be able to latch itself into any program that might be getting uninstalled. When you think about the way that an archive program is basically unwrapping a file and pulling other files out of it, extracting it out onto your storage device, it is, I mean, I want to say it has the ability, but it is by essence touching every piece of data coming out of that archive. So just as a metaphor, you could see some dirty hands handling clean laundry. Everything gets touched by this compromise. At some point, it could infiltrate the thing of whatever that archive is that would allow it to get access, or implant something that would allow it to get access later by a bad actor. So I thought it was an interesting thought exercise as I was reading through this compromise. There isn't anything that's more or less unusual, but the idea that an archive program could get compromised, I think, is pretty interesting, pretty dangerous, in fact. These archive programs are integrated into our operating systems now. You have a Windows operating system, you can double click on an archive and it will automatically extract it itself. There are such things available for the Linux operating system and the Macintosh operating system as well. You're being encouraged to save space, and you're being provided the tools to deal with that stuff. Just a click of the button. We also have this other issue going on right now, a supply chain of software, specifically in the Linux ecosystem, but it is also a well-established supply chain of software in the Windows and the Macintosh ecosystem. The Windows system being much easier to compromise than the Macintosh system, but still exists because development happens not within those ecosystems. Developing software for desktop environments, they really are developed in the developer's developmental platform. And those platforms are made up of chains of software so that basically you're not reinventing the wheel. You're pulling a piece of software, you're pulling a piece of development from here and from here and from here, and you're putting it together to make the application, to create the thing that you're trying to use. And something like the archive software, in this case 7-zip, but in the case of these integrated extractors, it is fundamental in that software supply chain. And if you were to compromise that software supply chain for the archiver, then there's a good chance that millions of systems would end up compromised just from a software update. All of a sudden, you've got millions of computers compromising files that have come to them as archives. And quite possibly, it would be difficult for you as the computer user to even be aware of it because of the level of compromise that would be possible. It's another indicator of how fragile some of these ecosystems are. Again, just a thought exercise. If you upgrade to 26.01 of 7-zip, you are not going to be, you won't have this compromise. But this is a fairly severe compromise. So if you're using 7-zip, like I said, it's very common. It's something that I use everywhere. You should update it. Richard, you have joined our meeting in the second half, and so have not been asked if you've brought any topics. Do you have anything other than what we've got here that you'd like to bring up?
No, I don't. I apologize. I don't know what you discussed earlier. Ed Zitron had a thing that I sent you yesterday that I thought was very interesting. Did you read that?
I got it too late for me to check it out before this meeting. I was going to go back
four
to it.
sentences into these fine people.
Let's see here.
A statement that he made.
Where
it's just those 4 sentences. This is Chester. You heard me talk about this guy Ed Zitron. I tried to get you to read one of his 15 or 20,000 word pieces a long time ago. He's claiming that he's going to make an announcement about AI within the next 2 weeks, and that it may be the trigger that bursts the bubble. And that's a hell of a statement. And I don't think this guy's bluffing. I mean, I can find that for you, Scott.
No, I've just added it to our document. I'll be happy.
It's just those 4 sentences, and then you have, the whole article. But that's the last 4 sentences of the piece.
Because one of my sources.
I tried to read the article, but the language in it and the words used in it just made it uncomfortable, and I quit.
Understood. I told you that's, Ed's Ed.
But he's a provocateur with his writing. One of my sources has come forward and brought me a story with possibly burst the AI bubble. The reason they brought this to me is that I've shown and will continue to show that I actually give a shit about the industry and the people in it. If you're wondering what this story is, know that the information I've wanted for years, delivered as I've always wanted it, and I will treat it with the reverence it deserves. Imagine what the worst possible thing for me to get would be, and you're probably close. Expect it will be out in the next 2 weeks, and you will know exactly when it runs. There will be a podcast, a newsletter, and very likely follow-up coverage elsewhere. I can guarantee you it'll be worth it, and you will be stunned by what I report. Well, that's quite a claim.
I don't think he's bluffing.
Yeah.
I don't think he's bluffing. Why would he bluff? He'd look like an idiot within 14 days. He's got something huge, and he's already got it. He's not waiting for delivery. If you read that, it has been delivered to him.
I mean, that's an amazing claim. I can't wait to know what he's talking about and how it fits into what's going on. Because offhand, you would think that the kind of reporting he would be referring to would be stuff like all the CEOs know that they're not making any money off of AI, but we already know that.
I know.
The environmental issues, like how much water is needed, where data centers are being developed, how much return on. I mean, all these things seem like things that should be in the shadow, and they're not. I mean, they're all right in front of us. So what has he found that's in the shadows?
Possibly mean. So the key sentence. Imagine the worst possible thing for me to get would be. Imagine what the worst possible thing for me to get would be, and you're probably close.
So, Richard, what do you imagine?
I don't know, Scott.
Well,
That's
yeah,
a very
like-
good question. And I don't have any snappy answer. I mean, you could have something that is patently illegal financially.
Well, maybe
Okay, I mean, I'm just throwing out an
Yeah,
idea.
yeah.
I'm not saying
No.
that's a great idea.
maybe ties with government, maybe ties with government that go back years, moving us in this direction.
Could
Up on an
be.
asteroid.
Hey, it makes all AI moot because we're going to be wiped out by an asteroid. That's the big secret. The financial markets don't matter anymore because we're all going to be dead.
See, and I have to go back and reflect on Ed's previous writing because he does give us another clue in that second paragraph where he said, know that it's the information I've wanted for years. So I have to go back and reflect on what is the holy grail of Edward's information dreams.
Right. What would it be that he would want?
Sam Altman's an alien? Maybe he is. I don't know.
That's awesome. In this day and age of possible disclosure,
Well, I'm just trying to.
it just goes hand in hand with government disclosure of alien life. They're the ones responsible for AI.
Maybe Sam's an alien. It's entirely possible. But I'll tell you something. Zitron's built himself up, and he's got hundreds of thousands on that mailing list. And I'm sure his PR firm in Vegas is doing very well because of his visibility. And I don't believe for a second he would have written this unless it was real and he had it in his hands when he wrote it.
Well, at the
Probably
moment,
the next 2 weeks, and I'll bet you this is, and I think Chester would agree with this, that a significant part of the next 2 weeks are going to be Edward talking with lawyers, his lawyers, about exactly how he writes this to avoid right?
well, it'll be interesting to see. At the moment, what we know is he has stuff he thinks is relevant. We will wait to hear what he has to say about it. He has been an active voice against AI with very good research, very good information about how the industry is not making any money off of it. It is being used as hype to push up stock values, manipulate the market. And it really, I mean, from that perspective, it's all just a market move, a fake money. And Richard, I don't know if we had a chance to talk about it, but I was listening to a bunch of tech pundits talking about how these AI companies are now working out an exchange of tokens. Did we talk about this?
No.
That I don't know if you remember, but we were talking. You and I were talking. I hope you don't mind me sharing this with the group. But you and I were talking about AI and how it's a bubble and it's going to explode. And I keep coming back to this position that it doesn't matter if it's a bubble, it's not going to go away, and they will even print money to prop it up. And lo and behold, these companies are putting together a system of token interexchange. So these AI tokens that they talk about that give you the ability to take advantage of the data centers and run the models, they're talking about a value system that would allow you to take your tokens between AI models. Like a currency system.
I figured the tokens were a way to get compensation. So many people trying to use it free or as an adjunct to some other program. And
Well-
the tokens was to get,
Esther, I will help you because there is a perfect analogy from the world that we both live in. The tokens are chips, and the purpose of the token is to abstract money.
right.
You know,
Yeah.
because when you're in a casino and you flip that chip down, it's $100 chip. You know, that is not the same as throwing $100 bill down on that.
Well, not to mention you pre-bought the tokens. You can buy more if you run out. But what I'm referring to is going with Richard's analogy of the casino chips. This would be like you could take the tokens and move over to the casino across the street and use them.
Right.
Well, like their own fundamental
But
underscoring currency
it's
system.
all about obfuscation of cost. And it
Right.
has been, and it's been obfuscation of their costs, meaning the cost of production, and obfuscation of what the number would have to be if the client was actually paying the cost of production. We wanted to get all of that abstracted from money.
Because it's costing so much it's not justified, and that's what Ed Zitron keeps coming back to. There's nothing justifying these outrageous stock valuations when these companies are making no money off of AI. It's costing ridiculous amounts of money and resources. And it's
Plus the operating cost. The
Well,
operating cost of these centers are going to be quite significant with all the power they use, plus water that's unavailable.
I almost feel like it's becoming so clear. It's like the Bill of Digital Rights. We almost need to have a digital right for data centers and what's considered appropriate. Because I really feel like if you're gonna entertain the idea, I don't necessarily have a problem with data centers. I have a problem with the motivation behind building data centers and the resources they use. And I think that we've reached a point now where if we're going to be allowing data centers, we have to disassociate it from the motivations and protect ourselves from what we're talking about. And so if a product, and I look at it as a product, as a data center, it is necessary, and they're scoping out where a data center is going to be installed. It seems like it should fit a criteria specified by that local community. And I would encourage that community to specify no loss of water, no changes in electrical prices. The data center has to be self-sustaining. The data center has to cut dividend checks to the local community. I think these things should, I think every community that's entertaining a data center, regardless of the reason, whether it's for AI or it's Netflix storage or whatever it might be, if you're getting into the data center business locally, you should be as selfish as possible. And you should have legal constraints on how high the electricity prices can go for you, the constituents, how much water is allowed to be used or is needed before considering a data center. There should be environmental impact studies. I know there are, but right now everything's in favor of these corporations.
Right. So what you're basically advocating, all of which I agree with, is you have to shut this crap down now. Take a deep breath. Your environmental study you just mentioned, that's an 18 to 24 month process. So why don't you just all relax here now? But that can't possibly work because this is a pyramid scheme. And unless more and more money comes in each day, more than the day before, you got a problem. We're there, baby.
Yeah.
There's also the current discussion among specialists that they're concerned that the AI will start repairing itself, and they will not have an opportunity to keep it in shape that it'll be smart enough to repair itself.
Chester, it's the
Chester, I
spectrum.
say with the greatest respect, and you have been fed a narrative that is complete hooey. And the problem for the AI industry is not that AI is going to become super intelligent and start acting autonomously. The problem for the AI industry is they're running out of money and they're hitting $1 trillion wall here.
Yeah.
Okay. And they sell scare stories like that to you, Chester, through all the media who are completely complicit.
I was going to say something of a similar nature, is that the capacities of these AIs and the potentials, the stories fall in this broad spectrum of possibilities, and all of them are to sway people's opinions. They're all to provide this, like Richard said, a narrative that will trigger you into making decisions that benefit the people that are creating the narrative. And being scared is one of the narratives that is useful to them.
Well, and it's a validator for it's considered a validator for this is such powerful technology.
We should be worried. We need regulation.
This is an error-prone, hallucination-prone thing that costs 10 times what you can possibly charge anybody for the product. But this isn't super. This is
just even like the way that they handled Mythos's release. They purposely held it back. They went and did press conferences saying, we've got this AI that no one is going to be able to use because it's too dangerous.
So scary smart.
Yeah. I mean, if anything, we need another $1 trillion to make sure that it's not as dangerous as it is.
Precisely.
Well, I think it's the IPOs that you have to be cautious of, because that's where they're going to get a lot of their money for construction.
I didn't pay any attention to, I haven't paid attention last week, except for the market was crashing after their IPOs.
Well, it's back up. The big IPO is the big one is what, today or tomorrow?
Oh, I thought it was last week. I thought that both of them IPO'd last week. But again, I wasn't paying close attention.
No.
It's late this week.
This week?
For what, Chester?
For OpenAI and for Anthropic.
No. They don't even have dates. They don't even have dates. They don't have hard dates for either Anthropic or OpenAI. It's later this year.
Right.
And it's such crap. I mean, later this year. Okay, we're already in June, so you would think if you were doing the largest IPO in history and it was going to be later this year, of which they're less than 180 days, you might have a date. We don't have a date.
I'm Googling Richard, and he's absolutely correct. There is no date. It's just the talk of a date. It's more of the same crap. It's all
it's the talk of his $1 trillion variation. I'm rounding it up $50 million.
They had it priced at $135 a share, and
and they don't make anything except debt. Well,
say again.
I said they don't make anything except debt. All they do is cost money.
So for $135 a share, you can buy into a company that has never made a dime.
It just throws money in a hole.
And has no path to profitability.
and won't
path to profitability.
Won't show us numbers, and like they won't.
Well, this is part of the problem, and I think why we don't have a date, because when you do a public offering, you do have to show some numbers. Mr. Stone knows this better than everybody.
Well, and that's why we're waiting with such anticipation, because the moment they do, then we get to see inside their company.
Well, yes, and think of all the effort that's going into how do you architect the numbers so that this thing that has lost money hand over fist since its inception is burning money on every single client it has, including its paid clients. They're not even profitable if you cut out the paid tier, right? And how do you create value? I mean, that's some accounting magic, man. How are they going to present that?
Well, Richard and I have many discussions like this. I think the financial side of this stuff and the technical side of this stuff are completely separate. I know that they can't be, but I can only think of them in those terms. I cannot see this technology going away simply because these companies, a majority of people finally come to their senses and realize they're not worth anything. Because the technology does have value, and it has value as specific application, not as any general kind of intelligence, not some agent that's going to be able to take over your life for you, but very specific individual application. And it grows and develops and advances at a turtle pace pretty regularly, and it has for decades. And we're just in the latest iteration of this kind of technology. And it's all this hype, all these smoke and mirrors. This is the vaporware of this generation. This is Bill Gates saying we have a windowing operating system before they have anything. This is and that's what this is WorldCom. It will blow up, but it won't go away. This is the .coms of the early 2000s. But the technology is going to stay. Now, it's driving so much of what we're doing right now. This is the most frustrating part about it. This financial thing is feeding a beast, and we're caught in this storm of hardware and pricing that is affecting all of us. I was just this morning hearing a tech guy I follow, Louis Russman. He's an advocate, and he's a tech repair center. He's got a number of people fixing the boards on Macintoshes. He's a pundit for Right to Repair. And he was talking today about having trouble getting his warranty on a 4 terabyte Samsung drive that is failing. It's moving at really slow data transfer speed. He is exactly the person that can show exactly what's going on. He has all the tools to monitor this equipment and show where it's precisely having errors. He bundles it all up to Samsung. They throw it back to him saying it's working just fine. He accuses them of taking advantage of him in a public social media situation, and they get back to him guaranteeing him a refund now. But the problem is that the economics have shifted since he bought the drive. He bought the drive when it was $350. Because of the economics of silicon, the replacement drive is $950.
I'm sorry, man.
This is not Lewis's fault. This is AI's fault and the hype in the financial market. because they have
Right.
bought up all the chips to build data centers, and it's affecting our consumer market. And Samsung has decided they don't have any drives left for refunds for warranties. They only have drives to sell at $900. And
Right.
so there is
So
no
we'll
drive
give
to
you your, we'll give you,
send,
Lou,
Lewis.
we'll give you your $350 back. And
That's
why don't
right.
you hustle
And you're
over-
just
why don't
out
you
your
hustle
drive.
over to the Best Buy and give us $900, and we'll
Yeah,
give you
give us
another one of those.
$600 more,
Yeah.
and then you'll be back in business because you're competing
Yeah.
against
Well,
the data center for a fictitious idea of a product that doesn't exist.
I bought one of those and I sure hope it continues to operate. One of the four terabyte external hard drives.
Well, I can tell you, Lewis and this isn't an external hard drive. This is one of the M2 chip hard drives that and it looks like a memory chip, but it has 4 terabytes on it, and he runs it in a RAID, a 2-drive RAID. And so he's trying to replace this drive that was working fine, that stopped working, which is still under warranty. He's trying to get it replaced, and they won't. They'll just give him his money back because of business, just because the way they're doing business. They're not. And Louis Rossmann is the wrong person to not give the guarantee of the warranty to.
But I mean, just because he is a public guy,
right,
and with an audience and all that,
and a foundation for the right to repair, he's the wrong person.
I mean, that's just very illustrative of that. They truly, and there's some vulgarity I could use, but I won't, don't give anything for the consumer market.
Right. Nobody does right now.
I think that message, Samsung could not be clearer.
Remember, Micron got out of the memory. Micron, famous for making all the memory modules used both in consumer and in professional markets, got out of the memory market. We're all thinking, why are they doing that? Especially when there's such a lack of memory. And it's because they went to build 400 terabyte hard drives for data centers.
Well, and you know what, though, Scott, if you think about it, in a lot of respects, Micron did it the more gracious way because they just exited the consumer market, whereas Samsung has chosen to remain in the consumer market and behave
this
really
way
badly.
Yeah, to be a bad actor.
Okay.
Micron at least said, we're not helping you anymore.
That's right. They
We've
closed
got
the
different
doors. Nobody
customers.
says you have to be in business. You can come to say, I'm not selling hot dogs anymore.
No, that's a very good point. Samsung is playing with their customers.
Well, they're having it both ways.
Yeah, or they're trying to. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm certain Lewis will get satisfaction in some way. Either this will break into just a major national news story. It'll end up on a national news media network with everyone questioning the validity.
I would like to,
yeah.
Okay, but you mentioned you sort of mentioned .com, and not to revisit that dead horse, but I would like to say, and this is specifically for Chester, when you think of .com boom, and particularly when you think about all the fiber that got laid, that fiber was dark. It was unused for 15, 20 years. But when you turned it on, it was exactly as advertised. It carried exactly, it wasn't harmed from just sitting there these chips, these specific chips that are being made for AI applications, the things that Samsung and NVIDIA and everybody is taking, they're not good for general purpose computing. So it's not like when this thing blows out, you're going to say, oh, well, we have this data center chock full of H200 chips. We'll repurpose them to do weather forecasting, or we'll repurpose them to host websites, or we'll repurpose them to, do general.
Richard, I would like to riff on that just a little bit because of the NVIDIA presentation last week. He was projecting the idea that they could. That's what he was doing. He was on stage pacifying the idea that you just passed.
Right. And first of all, it's crap. And secondly, I'd have to pull it out to pull, but he was kind of talking about second tier, and that it would be that the chips would be okay for purpose.
Well, specifically, the laptop technology and the analogy he used was the idea of putting data centers in your hands. Like your personal computer is your data center. You run your AI model, which is the direction we see all this going. But what he proposed was all of it, all from nuts and bolts, everything. Microsoft already has a Surface laptop using what he proposed. From what I gathered, there was a chance NVIDIA might be offering their own laptop. There is, if you go with the current economics, the shortage of silicon out there in the market right now, tech pundits are saying these laptops would have to be costing $4,000 to $5,000. Like what they're presenting is not for us. This is not consumer facing. No matter how hard they try and bundle it up, this isn't your iPhone. This isn't your laptop computer or your tablet. These are.
I thought he did a very, whatever. But I thought he did a very ineffective job for talking about the possible repurposing of AI data centers. And secondly, I think it tells you that the dark day, the bad days are coming, that he even felt that he needed to go down that line of reasoning. I mean, think about it. It's almost contradictory. If AI is the future, if AI is everything, everything's going to be AI, we're just going to build more and more and more and more data centers. Why would you be talking about alternative purposing of those data centers? I mean,
right. He never did. And my point was the equipment that they're building for the data centers are also capable of working in your laptop. You're right. He did not address the idea that data centers would be used for anything other than AI. What he was selling was the idea you're going to have AI on your desktop. It's going to be available from your phone. And when it's not enough, it's going to go out to the data center for more. That was his whole package.
Those H200 chips and I think there's even another one, but the NVIDIA's top of the line chip, I think those chips are $20,000.
The Spark chip is what they're. Spark.
Okay, I think they're about $20,000, and you can't cut one in half and make it $10,000. So unless you're talking about a device priced more than $20,000, those chips. Let's talk about that dollar value.
They've already produced a desktop Spark. There's been a Spark box out there. But you're right, it's up in the thousands of dollars. I wanted to say 5,000. You're saying 10,000. The problem is we have no idea what he announced will end up costing. They didn't have delivery dates. They didn't have pricing. They didn't have anything about availability. It was all about look what we could do. Look.
So it's sort of Jensen's daydream then?
Well, I don't. I mean, like he had hardware to show off, but he didn't have hardware to sell.
Yeah, well.
And you've got to, it's got to be all feeding into the same circular economy that we've got going right now. And his company is one of the biggest investors in the companies that buy the equipment that his company makes.
Yeah. He invests $30 billion in OpenAI, and then OpenAI buys $30 billion of H200 chips.
Guys, we are reaching the end of this meeting, and Richard and I are just going back and forth on AI. If anybody wants to join this conversation, please speak up. Otherwise, I think we've reached the end of our hour. I've got like an hour and a half noted. We typically will go through things like recommendations, and we can do that now. If anybody out there has something they want to shout out that other people know about, do it. I will
tell you an amazing film from Oh, excuse me, Mrs. Stimson, I think, wants to speak.
Please do, Mom. What do you got?
Oh, well, on recommendations, we did go to the movie theater to see Pressure. Pressure. It's a story about the pressure that the Allies were under to get the weather right for the D-Day invasion. So it's pretty intelligent. I don't know whether that much, but the dialogue and stuff and the way they talk about it and educate you as the person observing on how important the weather was to the success of that invasion and the people who figured it out. Pretty stressful. Anyway, it was a very good story, very well told, beautiful scenes of England, and of course, watching the invasion, although we didn't get a lot of battles that we had to watch. Most of it was trying to figure out when to go, what was the proper day, proper time of day, all of that to make it a success.
Can you imagine what Eisenhower must have gone through?
Yes, it just must have been something. Of course, he has lots of people around him, but he had to make the ultimate decision. He had to listen to the right person.
And in that connection, he had already prepared a written statement of what to do in case he failed in case the invasion failed, and that he assumed responsibility and it was. I think they found that fairly recently.
Yeah.
Here's a review that says a story about weather forecasting on D-Day doesn't sound like an interesting one, and yet that is exactly what Pressure is. Strong performances across the board.
I'm going to love to see it.
You'll recognize many, maybe Canadian actors, but I especially saw good English actors involved with this.
Speaking of war, there's a Tom Hanks World War II program that's 1 hour per week. That's a series that I, of course, watch.
I've heard that's spectacular.
That's a history of World War II, right?
Yes, but it has some film I haven't seen before. And since the particular war is of interest to me, I've seen a lot of film, but this is new.
Chester, you think it's well done?
Yes, I think it's well done. Tom Hanks doesn't have that much to do with it, but I enjoy it. Jan doesn't, but I do.
We got anything else to share with the group?
I have a movie rec.
All right.
And it's from 2002, and I'm going to post the Wikipedia link to it. I just did. It's called After Sun, one word. Has anybody heard of this film? I'd never heard of this film. It won
2022.
everything. Yeah.
Is this it? I'm broadcasting it on my After.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's
Go
one
ahead,
after
Richard.
SUN.
Pardon?
Go ahead. What is it?
Is
It
it
is.
SUN or SUN?
It is the antithesis of Worcester. It is a story about a man and his 11-year-old daughter, and they're on a trip. He's divorced. And it is one of the sweetest and most beautiful and amazing films I have seen in a very long time. It explained to me why this Irish actor, Paul Mescal, is a big deal. I know he's a big deal, but it's for media I don't watch. But I get, and this little girl who plays his daughter, who doesn't even have a picture on Wikipedia, she's really like 11 or 12 years old or something like that. An absolutely astounding performance. And I don't even like kid actors. I don't like films about kids. Okay. This is like everything I don't like. And this is an amazing film.
I'm sorry, is that SUN or SON?
SUN, After Sun, one word.
Am I looking at the right
like,
thing here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. That film.
What did you watch? What's it available on?
Here, it's on Apple TV, Prime Video, and Google All for Rent. We'll just go over to I got. Well, yeah. So that's
follows
what
an 11-year-old Scottish girl on holiday with her father at a Turkish resort on the eve of his 31st birthday. So he's a very young father, right? He's 31. His daughter's 11. Received all these BAFTA awards. Mescal was nominated as Best Actor for the 95th Academy Awards. National Board of Review, Best Film, blah, blah, blah.
Bringing up.
Since then, it has been cited as among the best films of the 2020s and of the 21st century.
After Sun.
I'd never heard of the film. I'd absolutely never heard of the film, and it was one of those associational things of I think I was looking, some actor up on Wikipedia, and that led to another actor, and blah blah blah. How I got to it, right? Wonderful film.
How old is it?
I think it's 2022. Not that, very recent actually,
It should be on one of the services.
Well, I'm finding it is not free in the United States to watch it. In Canada, you can watch it free on Tele-Quebec. I don't know if Cheryl's got access to that, but it's the only free one I find in Canada. Otherwise, it needs to be rented. I wonder if Mexico has a version.
More and more we're running into we have to rent them.
Nothing free in Mexico. Available on Apple TV, Prime Video, and Google
Is
Play.
it on Mubi?
Say again?
Is it on Mubi? MUBI?
Doesn't list as that's a legitimate service. Doesn't list it as.
On Rotten Tomatoes, After Sun holds an approval rating of 96%. based on 245 reviews.
I have a recommendation on the intent.
The website's critic consensus reads, led by Frankie Corio, that's the little girl, led by Frankie Corio's tremendous performance, After Sun deftly ushers audiences into the intersection between our memories of loved ones and who they really are. Metacritic gave it 95 out of 100 based on 46 critics.
So you can watch it on Mubi, but if you want it free, it's because you're signing up a 7-day trial. And that's how all the other ones are as well. If you're going to be able to watch it for free, it's part of a trial period. Otherwise, you have to rent it. Yeah. Or in the case of Mubi, you have to be subscription.
Best film I've seen, I mean, really sophisticated film. Best film I've seen in a long time.
We'll have to keep an eye out for it. Maybe available on Streamio. Well, guys, unless there's more recommendations, I think we need to call this meeting to an end. The day has begun without me. Oh, yeah, go ahead. What you got, Chester?
Yeah, I saw this on Netflix, and it was called Guilty. And it was all about one person, one man, manning a 9/11 phone. And the whole movie was intense. It wasn't funny. It was very serious, but a very, very good movie. If you like intense movies.
You said it was on Netflix?
Yes.
The Guilty?
The only thing I can remember was Guilty.
A troubled police officer assigned to 9/11 operation duty scrambles to save distressed caller during a harrowing day of revolution. I remember why. This is a good movie. This keeps you on the edge of your...
Right. That's exactly right.
It's Jake Gyllenhaal, Ethan Hawke's in it. I'm sorry to say, I probably should know that. Peter Skarsgård's in it.
That's all really good actors.
On Netflix. I think I watched this when it was new. Any other recommendations before we disconnect?
We're still watching Hazardous History. Keeps us entertained.
That's a series, right?
Yeah. I don't know if Chester's looked at it, but it's pretty funny and interesting.
Hazardous. Oh. Cool. All right. Well, if that's it, I'm going to say my goodbyes. You guys have a wonderful week.
Hasta luego.
I hope all your tech keeps working. And until next Tuesday, tech on.
Have a great week.
You too, Fred. Mom. Hey, Dad.
Nice seeing everybody. Happy birthday, Scott, and happy birthday last week, Sandy. Missed saying that to you guys.
Oh, thank you, Cheryl.
We had to make a trip to the eye doctor this morning, so I missed the first hour, but I'm glad I caught on to you guys for the second.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Cheryl. I have to say, I'm almost feeling like an adult.
Really?
We'll see you next week.
I guess that's because he's getting old. Bye.
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 Done it. That was us. That was the San Carlos Computer Club. We meet every Tuesday at 10 Mountain Central Time. No daylight savings. That's the Arizona or Sonoran time zone. Anybody is welcome to join us. UTC -7. Anyone is welcome to join us that is interested. Check out our website. Or it is not interesting, except it is where you'd find a link to the YouTube video on the day that we are doing the meeting. It also has the meet codes if you want to get into the meet with us. You can just. But if you'd like to contribute to our discussion, the best way to do it is to get a hold of those meet. Until next Tuesday, I hope you guys have a great week. I hope your tech keeps running strong. And until then,